So let's talk about some of the solutions that you think should be on the table in the Black community, which means actively labeling some of the problems that the Black community is experiencing beyond sort of a miasmatic systemic racism.
Right. I mean, I think the solution is for Black Americans to fix the problems within our own community. The solution is for white Americans to get out of the discussion because we have become the authors of our own problems. The culture, you've talked about culture so many times. When I was growing up, my mom and my dad never checked to see if I did my homework. It was not important for them to make sure that I was doing my homework. Now, I naturally did. I was good at school, so I liked it, but it wasn't necessary because our culture is a bit different. Now, when I went to my best friend's house, who happened to be Japanese, her father terrified me. When we got after school, he's like, Kathy, her name was Kathy, you sit down at this table right now, you do your homework. I mean, he was like astonished that she even brought somebody home because homework was so important. So there's a cultural difference. This is why nobody wants to talk about Asians, because they're the ones that are doing the best in this country, right? And they're doing the best financially. Asian Americans are doing the best in this country. Nobody talks about them. It's because their culture is different. They value different things. Black values have to shift. You want to talk about single motherhood rate, why there's no fathers in the homes. Well, it doesn't it's not good for us when you have a culture and music which glorifies baby mama. Right, baby mama, this amazing thing. We have to get serious about education. We need to stop criminalizing Black Americans who want to get ahead. For example, I was bullied in middle school by other Black people because I spoke proper English. Literally, that was my crime. I spoke proper English, so they would say, you're acting white. When you start to assign attributes that are considered whiteness, speaking proper English, caring about your schoolwork, these are things that the Black America makes fun of Black Americans for, because they say, well, that means that you're not Black unless you're speaking in colloquialisms, unless you're listening to dirty rap. If you're not listening to Cardi B, you don't know her music. So I've seen this growing up. This has happened to me. We have a culture problem in Black America. I think the best way to fix it is for everybody to stop debating about it, so everyone stop the hand holding, and let Black Americans get to work.
Well, it is amazing how many white Americans seem to want to take control of this particular debate. The entire anti-racist contingent led by Robin DiAngelo and her white fragility crew, they've attempted to regain control of racial issues in America, essentially by suggesting that Black Americans cannot be expected to fix the system, that white Americans are the only ones who can fix the system since white Americans created the broken system in the first place. This call has been taken up by a wide variety of political figures who call for things like slavery reparations from the American government. It was taken up by the National African American Museum of History and Culture, who literally suggested in full-on white supremacist fashion that things like punctuality and delayed gratification were white attributes.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say to white people who insist that they are so woke that they know better than somebody like Candace Owens what the Black community needs?
I say you're racist. Right? I find that to be a fundamentally racist concept. I mean, and I've had that attack. If white people that come to me and say, you don't understand. I don't understand what it's like to be Black in America. I've done it my entire life. I've never taken one day off on being Black. Not even an hour off. I've done it my entire life. And yet they feel they have the authority. That white guilt has given them the authority to help me understand what it's like to be Black, which is basically saying that unless I view myself as less than them, I can't be Black. Imagine that. I'm saying to them, I view myself as your equal. And that bothers them. That really bothers them. This idea that Black Americans are suffering because of the color of their skin. I mean, imagine a world where people think Malia and Sasha Obama are suffering. Right? That's what they're suggesting, because of the color of their skin. But Malia and Sasha Obama should be given handouts in life that they're suffering, and there are all these horrible things that they're going through because of the color of their skin. No, that's not true. Are there privileges that you can be afforded if you're rich? Yeah, that's not because of the color of your skin. It's called economic privilege. And we should all aspire to have economic privilege, right? That's why I like free markets. That's why I like capitalism. We should all aspire to work harder, but it becomes impossible when we have this white guilt permeating throughout every aspect of American culture. And that is what I absolutely hate it. I want nothing to do with it. We have to start changing it. We have to start changing the conversation. It starts with white Americans getting out of the conversation.
So, getting white Americans out of the conversation, what are the discussions of race like within the Black community in terms of, are there gradations and places of origin? So the media have decided, for example, that Black ought to be capitalized and the term white ought not be capitalized, because the term Black refers to people of a common ethnicity and origin, despite the fact that people from Jamaica are not the same as people from Kenya, who are not the same as people from South Africa or Zimbabwe or from the United States. This is all one unified group of people. White people, however, are merely defined in opposition to Black Americans. You see some of this in the treatment of Kamala Harris, because there have been people like Thomas Chatterton Williams who have pointed out she's not actually an American descendant of slaves, right? She's not a descendant of American slaves, that she is half Jamaican and she's half Indian, and that if you're going to look at the demographics of Indian Americans are actually the single richest subgroup in America right now, and so it's difficult to make the case that Indian Americans are subject to vicious, brute racism. What are the discussions of race like within the Black community, or is it sort of irrelevant within the Black community itself?
I mean, it's incredibly immature, and I will say that over and over again. It's incredibly immature, and because they just have become so comfortable with being a victim, because society has allowed it. You've allowed the toddler to throw the tantrum so many times that this is the way that they think is the method to get what they want. It's easy. Being a victim is remarkably easy, right? That's the easy path in life. Life is hard. Being responsible for yourself, waking up every day, going to work, taking responsibility when you do something wrong. That's the harder path. Saying you're a victim and when you fail, it's because of white people, the white boogeyman. That's very easy. And so amongst Black Americans, it's very hostile when a Black American like me ordains to think for themselves and says, I don't accept this narrative. It's very hostile. It's angry, but it needs to happen. I did a speech at not Howard University, another one of the HBCUs. And when I tell you, I stood up there for 3 hours and just took it. Boo, yelling. I mean, just completely crazy. It would never happen in an auditorium full of white people because they'll be a tiny bit more respectful than they were being that day. But after the 3 hours of them just brutalizing me, at the end of it, they all kind of came up and said, I want to take a picture with you, and I respect you for standing your ground. Let that happen. Let that dialogue happen amongst Black Americans. Let them actually hear a Black conservative perspective. It's hard to hear a Black conservative perspective when Black conservatives are routinely drowned out by white voices, ironically, right? Ironically, by these white voices poo-pooing and saying how hard it is for us to be Black. When it's not hard for us to be Black. It's hard for us to be successful when you keep telling us it's hard for us to be Black.
So you are one of the founders of Blexit, which was an attempt to get more Black Americans to exit the Democratic Party. And there's been similar attempts to get Jews to exit the Democratic Party to wild unsuccess, unfortunately. So what are the metrics that you're seeing in the Black community? Are you seeing a change in thinking inside the Black community in terms of voting, in terms of how people think about politics? Do you see any difference generationally in how people think about the various parties?
Yes. I mean, I think for the first time, there has been a lot of chatter and a lot of debate in Black America about politics in general. And I think it's because of people like me, like Larry Elder, who have sort of laid out on the line and just said, this is what I believe, and I'm not editing that. In terms of Blexit, we're in 20 states now. We have chapter leaders and ambassadors all across the state that are in the community actually having these discussions and knocking on doors. And I think at the height of this sort of racial unrest, there also is racial conversation. And I will tell you, when I got started, I had no Black fans. It was, you're an Uncle Tom, you're a coon, you're a house Negro, and that has completely transformed. And I am, inundated with emails of people thanking me. And the number one thing that they say, which I find to be incredible, is thank you for giving me my life back. Right? And that's an incredible statement because I feel that. And that's how I felt when I opened my eyes after I finished the first Thomas Sowell book. I wanted to just look at him and say, thank you for giving me my life back. Like, now it's okay. I can go out and I can be great. I don't see myself as less than. Victimhood is a weight. You're walking around with the weight on your back and you don't realize you've been carrying that weight until you let it go. And now I feel that I can sprint in my life and I can go and I can achieve things. I know I can because I know that I'm not being oppressed because of the color of my skin. That's what Blexit offers for our members all across the nation. And the reason why we did it was to create an actual community, because I think when you're a Black conservative, you can think you're alone. And we wanted them to just see you're actually not alone. There are tons of us popping up all across the state, all across America. And I do credit Donald Trump with a lot of that, because he just had the courage and the audacity to say it and not apologize.
Did you know that every like on this video creates one additional leftist tear gleaming in the sunshine? Don't ask me why. That's called science. To take advantage of this amazing opportunity, hit the like button.